That mutt's about as useful as a chocolate teapot.
Cade Brennan's voice boomed across the Naval Special Operations Training Facility, his massive frame casting a shadow over the small woman kneeling beside a German shepherd with mismatched ears. Seriously? Who let the pet therapy program into our elite training? The other rookies erupted in laughter as Cade kicked sand toward Mollie, the dog who'd been cowering behind her handler's legs since morning formation. Look at that thing. Probably couldn't track a burger in a McDonald's. Zara Henley didn't look up from adjusting Mollie's tactical vest, her long neon blue hair catching the San Diego sun like spun glass. Those defined cheekbones remained perfectly composed, despite the humiliation washing over the training yard. At 24, she looked more like a college student playing dress-up than a military contractor worthy of respect. "Maybe we should call animal control," sneered Jackson Torres, Cade's second-in-command, his voice dripping with manufactured disgust. "That dog's clearly traumatized, probably gonna bolt the first time we fire a blank round." Mollie pressed closer to Zara's athletic legs, her dark eyes darting between the circle of elite trainees who'd made sport of their morning ridicule. The German shepherd's black and tan coat was clean, but showed old scars that spoke of battles these rookies had never imagined. "Hey, dog girl," Cade barked, stepping closer until his army green camo filled Zara's peripheral vision. "I'm talking to you. What's your sad story? Rescue mission gone wrong? Or did you just pick the most pathetic partner you could find?" But in exactly 4 minutes, when that sniper's crosshairs found Cade's chest, and Mollie broke formation like lightning striking twice, every single person on that training ground would understand they'd just witnessed the most dangerous mistake of their military careers. The morning briefing had started like any other at the Naval Special Operations Training Facility. 200 elite trainees from across NATO's Special Operations community gathered in the amphitheater, their conversation a low rumble of anticipation and competitive energy. These weren't ordinary soldiers. They were the cream of the crop, handpicked for advanced tactical training that would prepare them for the world's most dangerous missions. Cade Brennan commanded attention wherever he went. 6 feet 4 inches of pure muscle, West Point graduate, Ranger qualified, with 3 deployment ribbons already decorating his chest at 26. His square jaw and piercing blue eyes had made him the unofficial leader of the rookie class, the kind of natural authority that drew followers like moths to flame. "Listen up, people," he'd announced to his inner circle that morning, his voice carrying the confidence of someone who'd never been proven wrong. "Today's about separating the wheat from the chaff. Real operators from weekend warriors." His gaze had swept across the assembled contractors and support personnel. And apparently, charity cases. Jackson Torres, stocky and loud with a social media following that fed his ego, had been recording everything. His phone captured Cade's every word, broadcasting their morning routine to thousands of followers hungry for authentic military content. "My boy Cade's about to show these wannabes what real training looks like," he announced to his live stream. The target of their attention sat alone in the back corner of the amphitheater. Zara Henley kept her eyes down, one hand resting protectively on Mollie's head. The German shepherd's breathing was controlled but shallow, her body language screaming anxiety to anyone who understood canine behavior, which apparently nobody in this room did. "Look at that setup," whispered Savannah Cross, a Navy EOD specialist who'd earned her place through 4 tours in Afghanistan. "The handler can't even keep her dog calm during a briefing. What's she gonna do when the shooting starts?" The whispers followed them everywhere. Zara's paperwork listed her as a civilian contractor specializing in canine behavioral rehabilitation. Her resume mentioned police department consulting and animal therapy programs. Nothing that screamed special operations material. Her gear looked borrowed, her uniform fit poorly, and her partner seemed more suited for a retirement home than a battlefield. Commander Nash stepped to the podium, his weathered face bearing the lines of 30 years in special operations. Silver threaded through his dark hair, and a scar along his jawline told stories he'd probably never share. His eyes swept the assembly with the calculating gaze of someone who had learned to read people faster than they could deceive him. "Today's exercise will test your ability to adapt under pressure," Nash announced, his voice cutting through the morning air with practiced authority. "K9 teams will demonstrate advanced tactical scenarios. Each handler will be evaluated on their partner's performance, their own tactical awareness, and their ability to integrate with larger operational units." Cade straightened in his seat, confidence radiating from every muscle. He'd been paired with Rex, a Belgian Malinois from the facility's premier breeding program. 2 years of intensive training had produced a dog that performed like a precision instrument, responding to commands with mechanical efficiency. Rex was everything a Special Operations K9 should be: aggressive, focused, and utterly reliable. First demonstration, Nash continued, will be basic obedience and tactical positioning. Handler teams will report to the main training yard in 15 minutes. The amphitheater erupted in conversation as the assembly dispersed. Cade made his way toward the exit with his usual swagger, Rex trotting beside him in perfect heel position. The contrast with Zara and Mollie couldn't have been more stark. "This should be entertaining," Jackson muttered, his phone already recording, as Zara struggled to coax Mollie toward the exit. $10 says the dog bolts before they finish the first exercise. Before we show you what happened when Mollie revealed her true nature, drop a comment telling us which military working dog breed you think is most underestimated. And if you love stories about canine heroes who refuse to back down when their partners are in danger, smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell, because what you're about to witness will completely change how you see courage under fire. The main training yard sprawled across 5 acres of carefully maintained terrain, designed to simulate urban combat environments. Concrete barriers created artificial cover, while elevated platforms provided overwatch positions that mimicked real-world tactical scenarios. The San Diego sun was already brutal at 9 in the morning, turning the asphalt into a griddle that made boots stick with every step. Zara stood apart from the other handler teams, her posture unconsciously defensive, as Mollie pressed against her legs. The German Shepherd's ears swiveled constantly, tracking sounds and movements with an intensity that seemed excessive for a simple training exercise. Old habits, perhaps, from whatever trauma had landed her in a rehabilitation program. "Handlers, prepare for basic positioning demonstration," called out Staff Sergeant Riley, the facility's senior K9 instructor. 22 years of Marine Corps experience had taught him to recognize capability regardless of packaging, but even his trained eye saw nothing remarkable in the nervous woman with blue hair. Cade stepped forward with the confidence of someone who'd never failed a military evaluation. Rex moved with him in perfect synchronization, their partnership the product of countless hours of traditional training methods. Commands were crisp, responses immediate, performance flawless by any conventional standard. "Outstanding," Riley noted, making marks on his evaluation tablet. Textbook demonstration of proper handler-animal cooperation. Jackson's phone captured every moment of Cade's success, his live stream audience growing as word spread about the competition between elite handlers. Comments flooded in praising Rex's precision and questioning whether civilian contractors belonged in military training environments. "Your turn," Riley announced, his gaze settling on Zara with barely concealed skepticism. "Let's see what rehabilitation techniques can accomplish." The snickers started immediately. Savannah Cross whispered something to her EOD team that triggered fresh laughter. Jackson positioned his camera for optimal coverage of the anticipated failure, his audience growing to nearly 8,000 viewers. Zara's voice was barely audible when she spoke to Mollie. No sharp commands or aggressive posturing, just quiet words that seemed more like conversation than instruction. The German Shepherd's response was subtle, a slight adjustment of position, a shift in attention, movements so natural they barely registered as obedience. "Is she even trying?" someone called out from the observation area, but Staff Sergeant Riley found himself leaning forward, his trained eye catching details others missed. Mollie's positioning wasn't random. She'd naturally placed herself where she could observe multiple approach routes while maintaining visual contact with potential threats. Her body language suggested readiness rather than anxiety, control rather than confusion. "Interesting," Riley murmured, though he kept his observations to himself. Commander Nash emerged from the administrative building, drawn by the commotion in the training yard. His presence commanded immediate attention. 30 years of special operations leadership had taught him to read situations with the precision of a forensic analyst. His eyes swept the assembled teams before settling on the unusual pair generating so much discussion. "Commander," Cade called out, his voice carrying across the yard with the confidence of someone seeking validation from authority. "Sir, I believe we should discuss the qualifications required for participation in elite training programs." Nash's expression remained neutral, but his eyes sharpened with professional interest. "Explain your concern, Brennan." "Sir, with respect, This facility is designed for preparing special operations personnel for combat deployment. I question whether rehabilitation programs belong in that environment. Cade's gesture toward Zara and Mollie was subtle but unmistakable. The training yard fell silent. All conversation stopped, as everyone waited to see how the command would respond to the challenge. Jackson's phone captured every moment, his live stream audience exploding with anticipation. Nash studied Zara for several long seconds, his calculating gaze taking in details others had dismissed. Her stance was deceptively casual, but positioned for optimal mobility. Her awareness of surroundings seemed excessive for someone supposedly nervous. Her hands, visible now as she adjusted Mollie's vest, bore calluses that spoke of weapons training rather than civilian dog handling. "Ms. Henley," Nash said, his voice carrying the authority of absolute command. "Would you care to address Brennan's concerns about your qualifications?" Every eye in the training yard focused on Zara. The moment stretched like a held breath, tension building as she seemed to weigh her response. When she spoke, her voice was quiet but clear, carrying an undertone that made several observers unconsciously straighten. "Sir, my qualifications speak for themselves. If there are questions about my partner's capabilities, I suggest we let performance provide the answers." The response was perfectly diplomatic, giving nothing away while deflecting the challenge back to measurable results. Nash's slight nod suggested approval, though his expression remained unreadable. "Outstanding," Nash announced. "We'll proceed with comprehensive evaluations. All teams will demonstrate tactical scenarios under controlled conditions." His gaze swept the assembly. "Performance will determine the participation in advanced programs." Cade's confidence never wavered. Rex's training was impeccable, his own preparation thorough. Whatever game Zara wanted to play, the results would speak louder than diplomacy. But as the teams prepared for formal evaluation, none of them noticed the figure observing from the distant perimeter fence. Marcus Vale adjusted his scope's focus, studying the training yard through crosshairs that had ended dozens of lives across 3 continents. His target was clear, his position concealed, his mission parameters specific. The contract had been explicit. Eliminate Cade Brennan during routine training. Make it look accidental. Leave no evidence of outside interference. Vale's reputation for precision had earned him this assignment, just as it had earned him similar contracts across the globe. What Vale didn't know was that his presence had already been detected by senses honed through years of surviving situations where death came from unexpected directions. Mollie's ears had picked up the metallic sound of scope adjustment. Her training had taught her to recognize the specific acoustic signature of sniper preparation. The German Shepherd's body language shifted in ways visible only to someone who understood the language of dogs trained for combat operations. Her breathing pattern changed. Her muscle tension increased. Her attention focused on a distant point that should have been empty terrain. Zara noticed the change immediately. 2 years of partnership had taught her to read Mollie's signals with the precision of radar interpretation. The dog's alert pattern was unmistakable. Distant threat, elevated position, immediate danger to the team. But revealing that knowledge would expose capabilities she wasn't ready to demonstrate. The mission required maintaining cover until the proper moment. So, she remained silent, watching, waiting, calculating the precise instant when action would become unavoidable. The weapons demonstration area occupied the eastern edge of the training complex, a controlled environment designed for testing tactical shooting skills under stress. Steel targets at varying distances challenged accuracy, while simulated combat noise tested concentration. Electronic sensors recorded every shot with precision that eliminated arguments about performance. Teams will demonstrate tactical shooting while maintaining handler-animal coordination, Staff Sergeant Riley announced. Dogs must remain controlled during weapons fire. Handlers must maintain accuracy while managing their partners. Standard protocol for Special Operations K9 teams. The ability to fight effectively while protecting and directing animal partners separated elite units from conventional forces. Dogs provided capabilities no human could match. Enhanced senses, tracking abilities, intimidation factors that could turn tactical situations in seconds. Rex performed flawlessly. His conditioning had eliminated any startle response to gunfire, his obedience maintaining perfect position while Cade engaged targets with mechanical precision. Each shot found its mark, each command received instant compliance, each movement demonstrated the textbook efficiency of proper training. Jackson's live stream audience grew to 12,000 viewers as word spread across social media platforms. Military enthusiasts shared links, commenting on the demonstration of elite training methods. The production value was exceptional. Authentic military environment, real weapons, genuine competitive tension between handlers. "That's how it's done," Cade announced after completing his run with perfect scores. 2 years of proper training, military discipline, absolute standards. His gaze found Zara, not therapy techniques and emotional support. The laughter that followed was harsh but predictable. Savannah Cross nodded approvingly. Several other handlers voiced agreement. Even Staff Sergeant Riley seemed impressed by the demonstration of conventional excellence. The tactical communication equipment used in modern military operations relies on advanced noise-canceling technology that filters battlefield sounds while preserving critical audio signals. Professional-grade headsets incorporate multiple frequency channels, allowing operators to maintain contact across vast distances while protecting their hearing from weapons fire. These sophisticated systems can distinguish between human voices and background noise with remarkable precision, ensuring that vital communications reach their intended recipients even in the most chaotic combat environments. Zara's turn approached with the inevitability of a death sentence. 12,000 strangers watched through Jackson's phone as she approached the firing line, with Mollie trailing behind like a reluctant shadow. The German Shepherd's behavior seemed to confirm every negative assumption. Nervous, distracted, clearly unsuited for combat operations. "This should be interesting," Jackson narrated for his audience, positioning his camera to capture optimal footage of the anticipated failure. Princess is about to discover what happens when reality meets fantasy. The rifle felt familiar in Zara's hands, despite its institutional maintenance. Decades of training had taught her to adapt to whatever equipment was available, extracting accuracy from systems that others would consider unsuitable for precision work. The sight picture aligned naturally, her breathing settled into combat rhythm, her finger found the trigger, with muscle memory burned deep by countless thousands of rounds. But maintaining her cover required careful performance management. Too much accuracy would raise questions. Too little would eliminate any chance of maintaining credibility. The balance required surgical precision of its own. Her first shot deliberately missed the center by exactly 3 inches. Close enough to demonstrate competence, far enough to suggest limitations. The electronic scoring system registered the impact with clinical precision. 7 rings, respectable but unremarkable. "Not terrible," Riley acknowledged with diplomatic neutrality. The second shot improved marginally, 6 inches closer to center, suggesting possible adaptation to unfamiliar equipment. Jackson's audience began losing interest as the performance failed to provide the spectacular failure they'd anticipated. But Mollie's behavior told a different story to anyone trained to read canine tactical signals. Her positioning wasn't random anxiety, it was protective overwatch. Her attention wasn't scattered confusion, it was systematic threat assessment. Her body language wasn't nervous energy, it was controlled readiness for immediate action. Zara completed her string with deliberately mediocre results. Good enough to avoid elimination, unremarkable enough to maintain her carefully constructed image. The performance satisfied surface expectations while concealing capabilities that would have redefined everyone's understanding of the situation. "Adequate," Nash announced, though his tone suggested deeper analysis was occurring behind his neutral expression. "All teams have demonstrated basic competency. Advanced evaluations will continue this afternoon." The morning session concluded with conventional results that satisfied conventional expectations. Cade's dominance seemed confirmed, Zara's limitations appeared documented, and Jackson's audience had witnessed enough authentic military training to satisfy their entertainment requirements. But as the teams dispersed for lunch break, several observers remained troubled by details that didn't quite align with surface impressions. Staff Sergeant Riley found himself reviewing video footage, studying Mollie's movements frame by frame. Something about her positioning patterns triggered recognition memories he couldn't quite place. Commander Nash requisitioned Zara's personnel file, reading between carefully redacted lines for clues about background elements that standard screening might have missed. Her civilian contractor status seemed legitimate, but certain administrative details suggested complexities that warranted deeper investigation. And 800 meters away, Marcus Vale continued his patient observation through high-powered optics, waiting for the optimal moment to complete his mission. His target's afternoon schedule was predictable, his position during live fire exercises would be fixed, and the chaos of weapons training would provide perfect cover for eliminating Cade Brennan without leaving evidence of outside intervention. Vale's reputation for precision had earned him contracts across 3 continents. Military commanders, corporate executives, government officials, all had discovered that his services provided permanent solutions to problems that conventional methods couldn't address. Today's mission was routine by his standards, distinguished only by the military environment that would actually simplify rather than complicate his assignment. What Vale couldn't have anticipated was that his target was being protected by capabilities that existed outside conventional military training doctrine. Mollie's enhanced senses had detected his presence from distances that should have been impossible. Her training had taught her to recognize threats that human awareness couldn't process, and her handler possessed skills that went far beyond anything documented in civilian contractor files. Skills earned through missions that officially never happened, in places that didn't exist on any map, against enemies whose elimination had required capabilities that few humans possessed. The afternoon session would test more than shooting accuracy or animal obedience. It would determine whether carefully maintained cover could survive exposure to genuine life or death circumstances, whether years of deep cover operation could withstand the instinctive response to immediate mortal danger, whether Ghost 7 could remain hidden when staying hidden meant watching someone die. The lunch break provided temporary respite from the mounting tension, but conversations continued with undercurrents that suggested deeper analysis was occurring beneath surface interactions. Groups formed and reformed around the facility's dining areas, each clustering based on shared assumptions about capability, worthiness, and the proper standards for elite military training. Cade held court at the central table, his natural charisma drawing admirers who fed off his confidence like plants seeking sunlight. Rex lay beside his chair in a perfect downstay position, the living embodiment of disciplined excellence that validated everything Cade represented. The thing people don't understand about special operations, he explained to his captive audience, is that standards exist for a reason. You can't lower the bar just to make people feel included. Lives depend on absolute competency. Savannah Cross nodded enthusiastically. Exactly. When bullets start flying, emotional support therapy isn't going to save your squad. You need training, discipline, and partners who won't crack under pressure. Jackson's phone continued broadcasting their conversation to an audience that had stabilized around 15,000 viewers. Military enthusiasts from around the globe offered commentary on everything from training methodologies to equipment specifications, their engagement driving the stream's algorithmic promotion across multiple platforms. "What's your prediction for this afternoon?" Jackson asked his audience, reading selected comments aloud. User Tactical Thunder says, quote, "Dog Girl is going to wash out spectacularly," end quote. User Marine Pride agrees, says, quote, "Some people learn the hard way that feelings don't stop bullets," end quote. The laughter that followed was predictable, but several listeners remained troubled by elements that didn't align with surface assumptions. Staff Sergeant Riley picked at his meal while reviewing mental notes that refused to resolve into coherent patterns. Mollie's behavior that morning had triggered recognition memories from his deployment years, specific details that suggested training far beyond civilian rehabilitation programs. At the opposite end of the dining area, Zara ate alone with Mollie curled beside her chair. The German Shepherd's positioning looked casual to uninformed observers, but anyone with tactical training would recognize it as protective overwatch, optimal sightlines to all approaches, immediate access to multiple exit routes, body language suggesting readiness for instant action. Zara's own demeanor seemed to confirm every negative stereotype: quiet, defensive, apparently overwhelmed by the competitive environment surrounding her. Her gear looked borrowed, her confidence appeared minimal, and her interaction with other participants was virtually non-existent. But careful observers might have noticed details that contradicted the surface impression. Her situational awareness was excessive for someone supposedly anxious. Her response to loud noises suggested conditioning rather than startled reactions. Her eating habits reflected nutritional discipline that spoke of physical training rather than civilian lifestyle. Commander Nash approached her table with the measured stride of someone conducting informal reconnaissance. 30 years of special operations leadership had taught him to recognize discrepancies that others overlooked, to question assumptions that everyone else accepted without analysis. "Ms. Henley," he said, settling into the chair across from her with casual authority, I trust the morning's evaluations met your expectations. Zara's response was carefully neutral. Sir, the training standards here are impressive. My partner and I are grateful for the opportunity to participate. Diplomatic language that revealed nothing while suggesting appropriate respect for authority. Nash noted the precision of her word choice, the careful avoidance of claims about capability or background that might invite deeper questioning. Your contract with the facility indicates specialization in behavioral rehabilitation, Nash continued, specifically trauma response in former military working dogs. That suggests experience with animals who've seen combat deployment. The statement was technically a question, though phrased as observation. Zara's hesitation lasted exactly long enough to suggest careful consideration of her response. Sir, many military working dogs struggle with transition to civilian environments. Retirement programs often require specialized approaches to address behavioral issues that standard training doesn't anticipate. True but incomplete. Nash's slight nod indicated appreciation for diplomatic skill, while recognizing that actual answers were being carefully avoided. What would you have done in Zara's position? Would you have stayed silent while they mocked your partner, or revealed your true capabilities? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one, and they help us understand what stories matter most to you. Your partner seems particularly responsive to subtle cues, Nash observed, his gaze settling on Mollie with professional interest. That level of bonding typically requires extended partnership development. Dangerous territory. Zara's response needed to acknowledge the observation, without revealing information that would compromise her carefully constructed cover story. Sir, rehabilitation work demands patience and consistency. Mollie and I have developed effective communication through gradual trust building. Technically accurate, while completely misleading, Nash's expression suggested he recognized the diplomatic deflection, but chose not to pursue immediate clarification. This afternoon's exercises will be more challenging, he said finally. Live fire scenarios designed to test performance under stress. I trust both you and Mollie are prepared for advanced evaluation conditions. The statement carried undertones that suggested Nash's interest went beyond routine assessment. Zara met his gaze with steady composure that would have impressed any interrogation instructor. Sir, we're ready for whatever challenges the evaluation requires. Nash stood with the fluid motion of someone whose physical conditioning had survived decades of demanding service. Outstanding. I look forward to observing this afternoon's demonstrations. As the commander walked away, Zara allowed herself exactly 3 seconds of tension release before returning to her meal. Maintaining cover required constant performance management, every word and gesture carefully calculated to support the constructed identity that protected her actual mission. But Mollie's sudden alertness indicated that performance management was about to become the least of her concerns. The German Shepherd's ears had detected acoustic signatures that human hearing couldn't process. The metallic click of scope adjustment, the whisper of fabric against concealment, the controlled breathing patterns of someone preparing to take a life from distance. 800 meters away, Marcus Vale had completed his final preparations. Wind conditions were optimal, target area clearly defined, mission parameters precisely understood. Cade Brennan would be eliminated during the afternoon's live fire exercise, his death attributed to a training accident or equipment malfunction. Vale's reputation for precision had earned him this contract through recommendations from previous clients who valued permanent solutions to political problems. Military commanders, corporate executives, government officials, all had learned that certain situations required intervention methods that conventional approaches couldn't provide. The afternoon session would provide perfect cover. Weapons fire would mask the sound of his shot. Chaos would delay immediate response. And accident investigation would focus on equipment failure rather than external intervention. By the time anyone suspected outside involvement, Vale would be 3 time zones away with a reputation enhanced by another successful completion. What he couldn't anticipate was that his intended victim was being protected by capabilities that transcended conventional military training doctrine. Mollie's enhanced senses had already detected his presence from distances that should have been impossible. Her conditioning had taught her to recognize threats that human awareness couldn't process, and her handler possessed skills that existed far outside the parameters documented in civilian contractor files, skills earned through missions that officially never occurred. in places that didn't appear on conventional maps, against enemies whose elimination had required capabilities that few humans possessed. The afternoon would determine whether carefully maintained operational security could survive exposure to genuine mortal danger, whether years of deep cover assignment could withstand the instinctive response to immediate threat against protected assets, whether Ghost 7 could remain hidden when concealment meant allowing someone to die. The advanced live fire range occupied 15 acres of terrain specifically designed to simulate complex urban combat environments. Multi-story structures provided elevated positions, while underground tunnels created opportunities for movement that tested tactical decision-making under pressure. Electronic targets appeared and disappeared at random intervals, forcing split-second identification of threats versus non-combatants. Teams will demonstrate tactical engagement while maintaining animal control under combat conditions, Staff Sergeant Riley announced to the assembled handlers. Scenarios will include multiple stress factors designed to test partnership cohesion when lives depend on precision performance. The evaluation represented the pinnacle of military working dog assessment. Special operations units worldwide use similar protocols to identify teams capable of deployment in the world's most dangerous environments. Success meant recommendation for classified missions that pushed human and animal partnerships beyond conventional limits. Failure meant elimination from programs that could launch military careers toward elite operational assignments. Cade approached the starting position with Rex moving in perfect synchronization beside him. 2 years of intensive training had produced partnership that functioned like precision machinery, each movement calibrated for optimal tactical effectiveness. Their performance would set the standard against which all other teams would be measured. Jackson positioned his phone to capture optimal footage of what promised to be a dominant demonstration. His livestream audience had grown to 18,000 viewers as word spread across military enthusiast networks. Comments flooded in from around the globe, offering predictions about relative performance and speculation about whether civilian contractors belonged in elite military environments. "This is where the rubber meets the road," Jackson narrated for his audience. "Real tactical scenarios, live ammunition, immediate consequences for failure. Let's see who's ready for special operations deployment and who needs to find a nice desk job." The first scenario required teams to advance through 200 meters of urban terrain while engaging hostile targets that appeared at random intervals. Success demanded seamless coordination between human shooting capability and animal threat detection. With split-second timing, that could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Cade's run was flawless by conventional standards. Rex identified threats with mechanical precision, his alert patterns providing targeting information that enabled Cade to engage with devastating accuracy. Each hostile target was eliminated with textbook efficiency, while civilian targets remained untouched despite their unpredictable appearance patterns. Electronic sensors recorded perfect scores across all measured parameters: shot placement, target identification, tactical movement, animal control. Every element exceeded minimum standards by comfortable margins that demonstrated superior preparation and natural aptitude. "Outstanding performance," Riley announced, his professional approval evident to everyone within hearing range. "Textbook demonstration of proper tactical partnership under stress." The crowd's response was predictably enthusiastic. Savannah Cross led the applause, her own experience recognizing excellence when she witnessed it. Other handlers voiced appreciation for skills they aspired to develop. Jackson's audience exploded with positive commentary, praising Rex's precision and questioning whether any other team could match such dominant capability. Military personnel and their families often require specialized financial planning services that understand the unique challenges of deployment schedules and combat pay structures. Professional insurance advisors work with service members to create comprehensive coverage plans that protect assets during overseas assignments. These specialized financial products account for the unpredictable nature of military service, offering flexible payment schedules and emergency access features that civilian policies typically don't provide. But as Zara's turn approached, Mollie's behavior shifted in ways that spoke of immediate danger to anyone trained to interpret canine combat signals. Her breathing pattern accelerated, her muscle tension increased, and her attention focused on a distant point that should have contained nothing more threatening than empty terrain. 800 meters away, Marcus Vale settled into final firing position with the patience of someone who'd learned that precision was worth any amount of waiting. His scope's crosshairs found Cade Brennan's position with mechanical accuracy, windage and elevation calculations, accounting for environmental factors that could affect shot placement at extreme distance. The contract specified elimination during training exercise, death attributed to equipment malfunction or training accident. Vale's reputation for making impossible shots looked like coincidence had earned him premium rates for assignments that others considered too risky to attempt. His finger moved to the trigger with professional calm. One shot, one kill, one perfectly executed mission that would enhance his reputation while permanently solving his client's Cade Brennan problem. But Mollie's enhanced senses had detected preparations that human awareness couldn't process. Her training had taught her to recognize acoustic signatures that preceded sniper fire from distances that seemed impossible. Years of combat deployment had burned threat recognition into reflexes that operated faster than conscious thought. The German Shepherd's alert pattern was unmistakable to anyone who understood the language of dogs trained for special operations. Immediate threat, distant position, lethal intent directed at protected assets. Everything about her body language screamed danger with increasing urgency that demanded immediate response. Zara recognized the signals with the precision of someone whose life had depended on reading such warnings correctly. Mollie's positioning wasn't random anxiety, it was tactical preparation. Her behavior wasn't nervous energy, it was controlled readiness for immediate action against confirmed threats. But revealing that knowledge would expose capabilities that could compromise years of careful cover maintenance. The mission required protecting her constructed identity until circumstances made concealment impossible. Those circumstances were approximately 30 seconds away. Zara stepped to the firing line with Mollie maintaining perfect heel position, despite her obvious agitation. To uninformed observers, the dog seemed nervous about weapons fire. To anyone with tactical training, her behavior suggested threat detection that transcended anything conventional K9 training could produce. The scenario began with electronic targets appearing at distances ranging from 50 to 300 meters. Standard engagement protocols required identification and elimination of hostile targets while avoiding civilian non-combatants whose random appearance tested decision-making under pressure. Zara's weapon handling was deliberately adequate, competent enough to avoid immediate elimination from the program, unremarkable enough to maintain her carefully constructed image of limited capability. Her shooting was precise but not exceptional, her tactical movement efficient but not outstanding. But Mollie's performance told a different story to anyone trained to recognize capabilities that exceeded civilian rehabilitation parameters. Her threat detection was instantaneous and accurate. Her positioning provided optimal tactical advantage, and her communication with her handler suggested partnership development that required years of high-stress operational experience. Staff Sergeant Riley found himself leaning forward, his trained eye catching details that others missed completely. Mollie's alert patterns weren't random responses to training stimuli. They were systematic threat assessment protocols that spoke of conditioning far beyond anything civilian programs could provide. Commander Nash emerged from the observation tower, drawn by recognition memories that refused to resolve into coherent patterns. Something about the unusual team triggered associations with classified briefings and operational reports that he couldn't quite access through normal channels. And Cade Brennan positioned himself at the 300-meter target station, completely unaware that crosshairs were centering on his chest, with surgical precision, guided by skills that had ended dozens of lives across 3 continents. Marcus Vale's breathing settled into the controlled rhythm of someone preparing to take a life from an impossible distance. Environmental factors were optimal, target position was fixed, and mission completion was exactly one trigger pull away. His finger began applying pressure with the gradual precision that separated professional elimination from amateur violence. Everything about the shot was perfect: angle, distance, timing, and most importantly, complete concealment that would ensure his escape remained undetected. But Mollie had detected preparations that human senses couldn't process. Her combat training had taught her to recognize the specific acoustic signature of sniper preparation from distances that should have been impossible. Years of operational deployment had burned threat recognition into reflexes that operated faster than conscious analysis. The German Shepherd's body language shifted from controlled readiness to immediate action preparation. Her positioning changed from protective overwatch to explosive movement anticipation. Everything about her demeanor screamed that lethal threat was measured in seconds rather than minutes. Zara recognized the escalation with the precision of someone whose survival had depended on reading such signals correctly under combat conditions. Mollie's alert pattern was unmistakable: sniper threat, immediate danger, protected asset about to be eliminated unless immediate intervention occurred. The mission parameters had just changed from cover maintenance to life preservation. The deep cover operation was about to be compromised by the necessity of preventing murder. Ghost 7 was about to be exposed because staying hidden meant watching someone die. Zara's training had taught her to make such decisions in microseconds, balancing operational security against mission-critical factors that transcended individual considerations. 37 confirmed kills across 4 continents had proven her capability to act decisively when circumstances eliminated all alternatives except action. Those circumstances had just arrived. If this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, hit that like button and share it with someone who believes that real heroes often hide in plain sight. The biggest reveal is just minutes away, and you won't want to miss what happens next. The moment stretched like held breath as multiple factors converged toward inevitable collision. Marcus Vale's finger reached final trigger pressure, his crosshairs steady on Cade Brennan's center mass, his mission completion exactly 1 heartbeat away. Cade remained completely unaware of the mortal danger centering on his position, his attention focused on target engagement protocols that seemed infinitely more important than perimeter security. Jackson's live stream captured every element of what appeared to be routine training exercise. His 18,000 viewers commenting on tactical performance while remaining completely ignorant of the life and death drama occurring beyond their understanding. Military enthusiasts from around the globe offered analysis of shooting techniques while assassination preparation proceeded with professional precision. Staff Sergeant Riley noted Mollie's increasing agitation with professional interest, his trained eye recognizing behavior patterns that suggested capabilities far beyond civilian rehabilitation parameters. But his analysis remained academic, lacking the context necessary to interpret threat detection signals that transcended conventional military training doctrine. Commander Nash's recognition memories continued triggering associations with classified operations and personnel files that existed beyond normal administrative access. Something about Zara's tactical awareness and Mollie's behavioral patterns suggested connections to programs that officially didn't exist, missions that had never been documented, and capabilities that few humans possessed. But academic interest and professional curiosity were measured in minutes, while sniper elimination was measured in seconds. Vale's breathing settled into the final rhythm preceding shot release. Environmental calculations were complete, target acquisition was perfect, and mission completion was exactly 1 trigger pull away. His reputation for precision elimination would be enhanced by another successful assignment that appeared to be a training accident rather than professional assassination. Everything was perfect except for one factor that existed completely outside his operational planning. Mollie's combat conditioning had detected threat signatures that human awareness couldn't process. Her training had taught her to recognize the specific acoustic patterns and electromagnetic signatures that preceded sniper fire from distances that should have been impossible. Years of special operations deployment had burned threat recognition into reflexes that operated faster than conscious thought. The German Shepherd's body language shifted from controlled alertness to explosive action preparation. Her positioning changed from protective overwatch to immediate intervention readiness. Everything about her demeanor communicated that protected asset elimination was approximately 2 seconds away unless immediate action prevented it. Zara's tactical experience recognized the escalation with microsecond precision. Mollie's alert pattern was unmistakable to anyone who understood the language of dogs trained for life and death operational deployment. Sniper threat, immediate danger, friendly asset about to be eliminated unless intervention occurred immediately. The decision required exactly 0 analysis. The deep cover operation was about to be compromised by the necessity of preventing murder in full view of witnesses who would document everything for global distribution. Years of careful identity construction were about to be sacrificed because staying hidden meant watching someone die. Ghost 7 had learned to make such choices in environments where hesitation meant death and second-guessing meant mission failure. 37 confirmed eliminations across 4 continents had proven her capability to act decisively when circumstances eliminated all alternatives except immediate action. Those circumstances had arrived. Vale's finger completed trigger pressure with professional precision. The shot was perfect. Angle, distance, environmental compensation, and target acquisition that would enhance his reputation while permanently solving his client's problem. But Mollie was already moving. The German Shepherd exploded from her position with the speed of something that had been holding potential energy like a compressed spring. Her trajectory was calculated with precision that spoke of training far beyond anything civilian programs could provide. Her timing synchronized with threat assessment that transcended normal canine capabilities. She struck Cade Brennan with the force of 90 pounds of muscle and bone, traveling at maximum velocity, her impact driving him sideways exactly as the sniper's bullet passed through space. His body had occupied microseconds earlier. The high-velocity round struck the concrete barrier behind Cade's position with a crack that echoed across the training range like thunder. Electronic sensors registered impact velocity and trajectory that spoke of professional marksmanship from an impossible distance. But the intended target was rolling on the ground with a German Shepherd who had just saved his life through actions that redefined everyone's understanding of everything they thought they knew. Chaos erupted across the training range as human minds struggled to process events that transcended their experience and expectations. Jackson's phone captured every moment of confusion as 18,000 viewers witnessed something that would generate conspiracy theories for years to come. Zara was moving before conscious thought could interfere with tactical reflexes burned deep by years of operational deployment. Her response to sniper fire was instantaneous and perfect. Immediate cover acquisition, threat assessment, and protective positioning that spoke of training far beyond anything documented in civilian contractor files. But her movement tore the tactical shirt she'd chosen to conceal what lay beneath. As she dove toward cover, fabric separated along stress lines that exposed the Navy SEAL trident tattooed on her left shoulder blade in perfect detail that spoke of earned rather than aspirational significance. Staff Sergeant Riley saw it first. 22 years of Marine Corps experience had taught him to recognize authentic military tattoos from civilian imitations, earning significance from purchased decoration. The trident on Zara's exposed shoulder was regulation placement, authentic design, and accompanied by operational details that spoke of classified missions and elite unit assignment. "Holy cow," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the continuing chaos. "That's real." Commander Nash's recognition memory finally resolved into coherent understanding, as tactical performance aligned with administrative anomalies that had troubled his professional instincts. Zara's situational awareness, Mollie's threat detection, and now confirmation of authentic SEAL credentials created a pattern that explained everything, while raising new questions about operational parameters that existed beyond his access level. His response was instantaneous and absolute. 30 years of Special Operations Command had taught East to recognize authentic capability, regardless of circumstances. His movement from observation position to formal salute took exactly 3 seconds, his bearing shifting from casual authority to military respect that communicated recognition across hierarchical boundaries. "Ghost 7, he said, his voice carrying across the range with certainty that silenced all other conversation. "Ma'am, requesting operational guidance." The words hit the training range like electromagnetic pulse, freezing every person within hearing range as minds struggled to process implications that redefined everything they thought they understood. Ghost 7 wasn't a person. It was a legend whispered in classified briefings about operations that officially never happened. Jackson's phone continued recording as his live stream audience exploded to over 50,000 viewers, word spreading across social media platforms, better than algorithms could track. Military enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists shared links, while speculation ran wild about authentic special operations personnel operating in civilian cover. But Zara's attention remained focused on immediate threat assessment, rather than exposure management. Mollie's continued alertness indicated that the sniper threat remained active, her positioning and behavior suggesting that hostile elimination had failed, but hostile presence continued. Marcus Vale's mission had failed spectacularly, but professional survival required immediate extraction rather than secondary attempts. His position was compromised, his target was protected by capabilities that exceeded intelligence estimates, and continued presence would result in capture by forces that could compromise his entire operational network. His withdrawal was professional and complete, utilizing escape routes prepared for exactly such circumstances. Within 90 seconds, he was mobile and invisible, his presence indicated only by the bullet hole in concrete that would generate investigation for months to come. But the damage to Zara's carefully maintained cover was complete and irreversible. Ghost 7 had been exposed in full view of witnesses whose documentation would spread across global networks faster than any containment effort could control. The mission parameters had changed fundamentally. The deep cover operation was finished. Whatever came next would require entirely different operational approaches. Commander Nash approached with the measured respect of someone who understood he was in the presence of capabilities that transcended his command authority. "Ma'am, we need to debrief this incident through secure channels. I believe we have mutual interests in operational security." Zara's response was quiet, but carried the authority of someone whose experience exceeded anything documented in conventional files. "Sir, I believe that conversation needs to occur immediately." Around them, the training range struggled to return to normal operation, while everyone processed events that would influence their understanding of capability, recognition, and the dangers of assumptions for the remainder of their careers. The legend of Ghost 7 was no longer legendary. The quiet woman in the gray t-shirt had been revealed as something far more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. And in exactly 6 minutes, that revelation would trigger consequences that reached far beyond a single training facility in San Diego. The silence that followed Commander Nash's recognition lasted exactly 4 seconds before the training range erupted into controlled chaos. 50,000 live stream viewers watched through Jackson's phone as military personnel struggled to process a revelation that shattered every assumption they'd held about capability, identity, and the nature of threats that could emerge from the most unexpected sources. Cade Brennan pushed himself to his feet with hands that trembled from adrenaline rather than fear, his gaze moving between Mollie and the concrete barrier where a sniper's bullet had carved a groove deep enough to fit his fist. The reality of how close death had come struck him with physical force that left him struggling for breath. "That shot," he whispered, his voice barely audible over the continuing commotion. "That was meant for me." Jackson's phone captured every moment of dawning realization, his audience exploding across social media platforms as word spread about authentic special operations personnel operating under civilian cover. Comments flooded in faster than servers could process. Military enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists sharing links while speculation ran wild about Ghost 7's actual identity and mission parameters. Savannah Cross stood frozen in place, her EOD training having taught her to recognize the acoustic signature of high-velocity rounds impacting concrete. The trajectory analysis was simple mathematics. Whoever had fired that shot possessed capabilities that exceeded anything she'd encountered in 4 combat deployments. "The angle of impact," she said, her voice carrying the precision of someone accustomed to calculating explosive force vectors. "That came from at least 800 meters, maybe more. Wind compensation, elevation adjustment, moving target prediction." Her gaze found Zara with newfound respect that bordered on awe. "Whoever's protecting you is professional grade." But it was Staff Sergeant Riley who voiced what everyone was thinking. "Ma'am, with respect, if you're Ghost 7, then Mollie isn't a rehabilitation case. She's operational." The German Shepherd's behavior had transformed completely. No more cowering or nervous energy. Her stance was alert but controlled, her breathing steady, her attention focused on perimeter security with the systematic thoroughness of someone trained to detect threats that human senses couldn't process. This wasn't a traumatized animal seeking therapy. This was a combat veteran maintaining tactical awareness. Zara's response was quiet, but carried an authority that silenced the remaining whispers. "Mollie has 47 successful operations across 4 combat zones. 0 mission failures. 0 casualties under her protection." Her hand moved to the German Shepherd's head with the gentle precision of someone who understood the weight of shared experience. She wasn't broken. She was waiting. "Waiting for what?" Commander Nash asked, though his tone suggested he already suspected the answer. "For someone who spoke her language." The admission hung in the desert air like a confession that changed everything. Jackson's live stream audience had grown to over 60,000 viewers as word spread across military networks and social media platforms. Professional analysts began offering commentary on tactical movements they'd witnessed, while intelligence community members recognized patterns that suggested operational security breaches of unprecedented scope. But the immediate concern was threat assessment. Marcus Vale's withdrawal had been professional and complete, but his presence indicated complications that extended far beyond training facility security. Someone had contracted professional elimination services against a military trainee, which meant Cade Brennan represented more than an inconvenient rookie with attitude problems. "Sir," Zara said, her attention focused on Commander Nash with the intensity of someone conducting tactical briefing under combat conditions. "We need secure communications immediately. This incident indicates compromise at multiple levels." Nash's response was instantaneous. "Agreed. All personnel will report to the secure conference facility for immediate debriefing." His gaze swept the assembled trainees and instructors. "Classification level Alpha. Nothing discussed here leaves this facility until cleared through official channels." The movement toward the administrative building was swift and organized, but conversations continued with undertones that suggested everyone understood they'd witnessed something that would influence their understanding of military operations for the remainder of their careers. Jackson's phone was confiscated by security personnel, his live stream terminated despite protests from an audience that had reached nearly 70,000 concurrent viewers. "This is insane," Jackson muttered as his equipment was secured. "Do you have any idea how many people were watching? This is going to be everywhere by tomorrow morning." But Commander Nash's experience with operational security had taught him that damage control required immediate and comprehensive response. "Mr. Torres, you've just broadcast classified personnel and operational information to approximately 70,000 strangers. I suggest you begin considering the legal implications of that decision." The secure conference facility occupied the basement level of the administration building, its walls lined with electromagnetic shielding that prevented electronic surveillance from penetrating classified discussions. Biometric scanners controlled access, while automated systems detected and neutralized recording devices that might compromise operational security. Zara settled into a chair with Mollie positioned beside her in perfect tactical placement. Optimal sightlines to all entrances, immediate access to emergency exits, body language suggesting readiness for instant action despite the supposedly secure environment. Her civilian contractor facade had been completely abandoned, replaced by the bearing of someone whose experience exceeded anything documented in conventional military files. "Ghost 7, Nash began, his voice carrying the formal tone of official briefing. "I'm going to assume that's not your actual operational designation." "No, sir. Ghost 7 was terminated 18 months ago, following mission completion and administrative reassignment. Current designation is classified beyond your access level." The response was diplomatically precise, while revealing nothing that could compromise ongoing operations. Nash noted the careful language, recognizing someone trained in information security protocols that existed outside conventional military doctrine. "Your presence at this facility," he continued, "suggests current mission parameters that require deep cover maintenance. The incident we just witnessed compromised that cover in spectacular fashion." Zara's slight nod acknowledged the assessment, without confirming specific details. "Sir, operational security has been compromised by external factors beyond mission planning parameters. Threat assessment indicates hostile action against facility personnel, specifically targeted elimination attempts that suggest intelligence compromise at multiple levels." The implications were staggering. Someone possessed intelligence about training schedules, personnel assignments, and tactical positioning accurate enough to coordinate professional assassination attempts during routine exercises. The security breach extended far beyond a single sniper taking random shots at military personnel. Staff Sergeant Riley leaned forward, his 22 years of experience recognizing the signs of complex intelligence operations. "Ma'am, if someone's targeting our people, we need to know who and why. That shot could have killed anyone on the range." "Negative," Zara replied, with the certainty of someone who'd analyzed every aspect of the tactical situation. Trajectory analysis confirmed specific targeting. Wind conditions, elevation calculations, and timing all indicate professional elimination contracts against a designated individual. Her gaze found Cade. "Someone wanted you dead, and they paid premium rates for guaranteed results." Cade's voice went pale as the implications sank in. "But why? I'm nobody special, just a rookie trying to make it through advanced training." Advanced tactical training programs require comprehensive legal documentation to ensure compliance with international military cooperation agreements. Professional legal services specializing in military contracts help organizations navigate the complex regulations governing joint training exercises. These specialized law firms understand the intersection between civilian contractor requirements and military operational security, providing essential guidance for personnel working in classified environments. "That's what we need to determine," Nash said, his voice carrying the gravity of someone who understood they were dealing with threats that could extend far beyond individual targeting. "Your background, family connections, financial obligations, personal relationships, anything that might explain why someone would invest in professional elimination services." The questions that followed were thorough and systematic, covering every aspect of Cade's life that might provide motivation for hostile action: military service record, academic performance, family background, financial status, romantic relationships, social media presence. Everything was examined for connections that might explain targeted assassination attempts. But the answers revealed nothing remarkable. Cade Brennan was exactly what he appeared to be: a competent military officer with clean service record, stable family background, and no obvious connections to criminal activity or controversial political movements. His social media presence was standard military professional, his financial status was unremarkable, and his personal relationships were conventional. "Dead end," Savannah Cross observed after reviewing the preliminary analysis. "Either this was mistaken identity or there's something we're missing." Zara's expression suggested she'd reached similar conclusions through her own analysis. "Sir, recommend immediate background investigation through classified channels. Standard screening procedures wouldn't detect connections to black operations, intelligence community assets, or foreign government involvement." Nash's nod indicated agreement, but his expression suggests deeper concerns about implications that extended beyond individual threat assessment. "Understood, but we still have immediate security considerations. If hostile forces possess intelligence about this facility, everyone here could be at risk." The reality settled over the conference room, like a weight that pressed down on everyone's understanding of their situation. What had started as a routine training exercise had evolved into a counterintelligence operation, with implications that could reach across multiple government agencies and international boundaries. "Sir," Zara said, her voice carrying the quiet authority of someone accustomed to making decisions under impossible pressure, "I recommend facility lockdown pending comprehensive threat assessment. No personnel movement without tactical escort. All training exercises suspended until security can be guaranteed." The suggestion was reasonable, but carried massive implications for training schedules that involved personnel from 15 different countries. International military cooperation agreements included specific obligations about training delivery, and unilateral suspension could trigger diplomatic complications that reached presidential level. But Nash's experience with special operations had taught him that diplomatic considerations became irrelevant when American personnel faced immediate mortal danger. "Agreed. All international participants will be briefed on security concerns without compromising operational details. Training exercises are suspended pending threat resolution." As the immediate crisis response took shape, conversations began focusing on longer-term implications that extended far beyond facility security. Ghost 7's exposure had created ripple effects that would influence intelligence community operations, special operations doctrine, and counterintelligence protocols for years to come. Jackson Torres found himself at the center of attention from federal investigators who arrived within 2 hours of his live stream termination. 70,000 viewers had witnessed classified personnel revelation, and their social media sharing had amplified exposure beyond any reasonable containment effort. "Mr. Torres," Agent Sarah Mitchell from Naval Criminal Investigative Service explained, with professional politeness that barely concealed serious legal concerns, "you've broadcast classified military information to an international audience. The legal ramifications could include federal prosecution under multiple statutes relating to national security violations." Jackson's social media bravado evaporated when faced with potential criminal charges that could result in decades of federal imprisonment. "Look, I didn't know she was classified. She was supposed to be some civilian contractor with a therapy dog. How was I supposed to know?" But ignorance provided limited protection when national security violations involved authentic special operations personnel, whose exposure could compromise ongoing missions across multiple theaters of operation. The Department of Defense had entire departments dedicated to protecting operational personnel from exactly this type of exposure. Meanwhile, Cade struggled with the reality that his life had been saved by someone he'd spent the morning humiliating in front of thousands of witnesses. The weight of that realization pressed down on him with crushing force that made breathing difficult. "I need to apologize," he said, his voice barely audible in the secure conference room. "Everything I said, everything I did. You could have let me die. Should have let me die after the way I treated you." Zara's response was immediate and definitive. Negative. Mission parameters include protection of all American military personnel, regardless of personal considerations. Your behavior this morning was irrelevant to threat assessment and response protocols. The professional detachment in her voice somehow made the rebuke more devastating than angry condemnation would have been. Cade had reduced her to a target for public humiliation, and she'd responded by saving his life without hesitation or expectation of gratitude. Subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another story about the warriors who serve without seeking recognition. Our other military K-9 stories are appearing on your screen right now, each one a reminder that courage comes in unexpected packages. Staff Sergeant Riley found himself reviewing every interaction he'd witnessed that morning, searching for clues he'd missed about capabilities that existed far beyond anything he'd imagined. "Ma'am, if I may ask, how long have you and Mollie been operational together?" 3 years, 4 months, 12 days. The precision of her response suggested partnership measurement that went beyond casual calculation. 47 missions across Afghanistan, Syria, Somalia, and classified locations. Combined elimination count of 137 confirmed hostile forces. 0 friendly casualties under our protection. The statistics were delivered with the clinical detachment of after-action reports, but everyone in the room understood they represented human lives ended and American lives saved through capabilities that few people possessed. Ghost 7 wasn't just a legend. She was a weapon system guided by tactical intelligence and moral commitment that made her more dangerous than entire conventional units. Commander Nash's secure communications device indicated incoming priority traffic that required immediate attention. The device's encryption protocols ensured that conversations couldn't be intercepted by hostile intelligence services, but the urgency indicator suggested developments that extended beyond facility security concerns. Ghost 7, the voice on the encrypted channel, was immediately recognizable to anyone with appropriate clearance. "This is DevGru Command. Understand you've been compromised. Require immediate secure briefing on incident details and current operational status." DevGru, Naval Special Warfare Development Group. The unit that officially didn't exist, conducting missions that were never acknowledged, in places that didn't appear on conventional maps. If they were involved, the implications reached far beyond training facility security or individual threat assessment. Zara's response was immediate and professional. DevGru Command, Ghost 7, compromise confirmed, hostile elimination attempt against protected assets. Professional grade sniper, estimated 800-meter engagement, mission failure due to tactical intervention. Request immediate extraction and debriefing through secure channels. Negative on extraction. Current operational requirements mandate continued mission execution under modified parameters. Stand by for updated tasking. The conversation continued in abbreviated tactical language that communicated complex information through minimal exchange. But the basic message was clear. Ghost 7's mission wasn't finished, and her exposure had created new requirements rather than terminating existing obligations. As the secure communication concluded, Nash found himself reassessing every aspect of the situation with a newfound understanding of complexities that extended far beyond his command authority. "Ma'am, I'm beginning to understand that this morning's incident was considerably more complex than training facility security. Sir, recommend compartmentalization of information based on need-to-know protocols. Facility personnel require sufficient briefing to ensure security awareness without compromising ongoing operations." The diplomatic language indicated that Ghost 7's actual mission remained classified beyond Nash's access level, but the implications were becoming clear. Whatever brought her to the training facility went deeper than K-9 rehabilitation programs or civilian contractor assignments. Over the following hours, the facility transformed from a routine training environment to a classified operations center as federal investigators, intelligence analysts, and special operations personnel arrived to assess threat levels and implement security protocols that protected both facility operations and classified mission requirements. Cade found himself at the center of investigation efforts that examined every aspect of his life with forensic precision. Financial records, communication logs, travel history, family connections, academic performance, social relationships. Everything was analyzed for patterns that might explain targeted assassination attempts. But the deeper investigators dug, the more mysterious the situation became. Cade Brennan represented exactly what he appeared to be, a conventional military officer with unremarkable background and no obvious connections to sensitive operations or controversial activities. It doesn't make sense, Agent Mitchell concluded after reviewing comprehensive background analysis. Professional elimination contracts cost at least 6 figures. No one invests that kind of money in killing random military trainees unless there's significant motivation we're missing. The investigation expanded to include family members, college roommates, former commanders, and anyone who might possess information about hidden connections or undisclosed activities. But every avenue of inquiry led to the same conclusion. Cade Brennan was genuinely unremarkable in every way that mattered to hostile intelligence services, which meant the assassination attempt was either mistaken identity or connected to information that existed beyond conventional intelligence gathering. Either possibility carried implications that reached far beyond individual threat assessment. 3 days after the incident, the breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Dr. Elizabeth Harper, a forensic accountant specializing in international financial crimes, discovered banking transactions that connected Marcus Vale's payment structure to a network of shell companies with ultimate ownership traced to foreign intelligence services. The contract originated from sources connected to Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps intelligence operations, Dr. Harper explained to the assembled investigation team. Payment structure indicates long-term surveillance and target selection based on intelligence that required months of preparation. But Iranian intelligence interest in American military trainees suggested operational considerations that transcended individual targeting. Either they possessed information about Cade's background that American intelligence hadn't discovered, or their actual target was someone else entirely. Mistaken identity, Zara concluded after reviewing the financial intelligence analysis. Iranian intelligence was targeting someone they believed would be at this facility during the scheduled training exercise. Cade matched whatever profile they'd developed, but he wasn't their actual objective. The revelation shifted investigation focus from Cade's background to facility personnel databases and training schedules that might have attracted foreign intelligence interest. Someone connected to the training program possessed information or capabilities that Iranian intelligence considered worth eliminating through professional assassination. Commander Nash reviewed classified personnel files with renewed urgency, searching for connections to sensitive operations, classified research, or strategic intelligence that might explain foreign government targeting. The facility hosted personnel from multiple agencies and international partners, any of whom might represent valuable targets for hostile intelligence services. But it was Mollie who provided the final piece of the puzzle. The German Shepherd's behavior had changed subtly but consistently since the sniper incident. Her attention focused repeatedly on specific areas of the facility, her alert patterns suggesting threat detection that couldn't be attributed to environmental factors. Something about the facility itself was triggering responses that spoke of recognition rather than general security awareness. She knows this place, Zara realized as she observed Mollie's systematic coverage of facility grounds. Not from our current mission, from before. The implication was staggering. Mollie's operational history included missions that brought her to this facility under previous assignments, which meant Ghost 7's presence wasn't coincidental. It was connected to operational requirements that originated from prior intelligence gathering or mission parameters. Secure communication with DevGru Command confirmed the assessment. Ghost 7 operational requirements include investigation of facility security compromise that occurred during previous classified operations. Your cover assignment was designed to provide access for counterintelligence assessment. The pieces finally aligned into a coherent operational picture. Ghost 7 had been assigned to investigate security breaches that occurred during previous classified missions conducted at the facility. Iranian intelligence had developed information about that investigation and attempted to eliminate what they perceived as the primary threat to their penetration of American Special Operations training. Cade Brennan had nearly died because Iranian intelligence mistook him for Ghost 7's actual mission parameters. "Sir," Zara reported to Commander Nash through secure channels, "investigation indicates foreign intelligence penetration of facility security systems. Recommend comprehensive counterintelligence sweep and personnel security review." The revelation triggered a facility-wide security overhaul that identified multiple vulnerabilities in electronic systems, personnel screening, and operational security protocols. Iranian intelligence had been conducting long-term surveillance of American Special Operations training, gathering information that could compromise mission planning and personnel deployment across multiple theaters of operation. But the discovery also created opportunities for counterintelligence operations that could feed disinformation to hostile intelligence services while protecting American operational capabilities. Ghost 7's exposure had inadvertently created conditions for comprehensive security upgrades that strengthened facility operations beyond previous capabilities. Within a week, the training facility had been transformed from a conventional military education environment to a secure operations center with enhanced electronic countermeasures, improved personnel screening, and upgraded physical security that exceeded standards for classified government installations. Cade Brennan found himself at the center of diplomatic discussions about his future assignment and security clearance requirements. His inadvertent involvement in classified counterintelligence operations had created complications that required careful management to protect both his safety and operational security. "Your options," Agent Mitchell explained during classified briefing, "include continued assignment with enhanced security protocols, transfer to different facilities outside hostile intelligence awareness, or transition to civilian career with comprehensive identity protection." But Cade's response surprised everyone involved in the discussion. "Ma'am, with respect, I'd like to request an assignment to whatever program trains people like Ghost 7. If I'm going to be a target anyway, I want the capabilities to protect myself and others." The request was reasonable, but carried massive implications for security clearance, psychological evaluation, and training requirements that exceeded anything conventional military programs could provide. Special operations selection processes eliminated 90% of candidates, and those were volunteers who met baseline requirements that Cade might not possess. Nash's recommendation supported Cade's request, while acknowledging the challenges involved. His performance under pressure suggests potential for advanced training. The tactical awareness he demonstrated after the incident indicates adaptability that could translate to special operations capabilities. But final approval required assessment by personnel whose judgment could determine whether Cade Brennan possessed the psychological resilience and moral commitment necessary for operations that existed outside conventional military doctrine. Meanwhile, Jackson Torres faced federal prosecution under multiple statutes relating to national security violations. His social media documentation having exposed classified operations to an international audience that included hostile intelligence services. His legal team negotiated plea agreements that exchanged cooperation with counterintelligence operations for reduced sentencing guidelines. "Your live stream audience," FBI Special Agent Blake Morrison explained during plea negotiation discussions, "included viewers from Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea. Your documentation provided hostile intelligence services with tactical information about American Special Operations capabilities and personnel." The reality of his situation finally penetrated Jackson's social media bravado. His pursuit of viral content had inadvertently compromised national security operations and endangered American military personnel. The legal consequences would influence his life for decades, but the moral implications were even more devastating. Savannah Cross received assignment to Advanced Explosive Ordnance Disposal training with enhanced security clearance that reflected her professional performance during the crisis. Her tactical analysis and calm response under pressure had impressed special operations personnel who recognized potential for capabilities that exceeded conventional EOD requirements. Staff Sergeant Riley found himself recruited for instructor positions within classified training programs that required personnel with experience recognizing exceptional capability regardless of conventional presentation. His ability to identify Ghost 7's authentic capabilities, despite her cover assignment, demonstrated judgment that special operations community valued highly. But the most significant changes occurred at policy levels that influenced special operations doctrine and counterintelligence protocols across multiple agencies and military branches. The Ghost 7 incident, as it became known in classified briefings, demonstrated vulnerabilities in operational security that required comprehensive response at strategic and tactical levels. Deep cover operations needed enhanced support systems. Threat assessment protocols required update to address professional assassination risks, and facility security demanded upgrade to prevent hostile intelligence penetration. Congressional oversight committees received classified briefings about foreign intelligence threats to American military training facilities, leading to budget authorizations for security improvements that strengthened counterintelligence capabilities across multiple installations. Department of Defense doctrine was updated to address lessons learned about operational security, personnel protection, and threat assessment that originated from the incident analysis. Training programs worldwide received enhanced security protocols that protected both classified operations and conventional military activities. But perhaps the most important changes occurred in recognition protocols that address the intersection of capability, respect, and professional judgment that the incident had highlighted so dramatically. Military leadership realized that assumptions about capability based on appearance, gender, age, or conventional indicators could create dangerous blind spots in threat assessment and personnel utilization. Training programs began emphasizing recognition of exceptional capability regardless of packaging, while evaluation protocols were updated to identify potential that conventional metrics might overlook. The transformation reached beyond military applications into civilian sectors that recognize similar vulnerabilities in assumption-based judgment and capability assessment. Corporate training programs began incorporating lessons about unconscious bias and recognition of hidden expertise, while educational institutions updated curricula to address the dangers of superficial evaluation. 6 weeks after the incident, Zara received new assignment orders that took her far from the training facility where Ghost 7 had been exposed to global attention. Her next mission would require different cover identities, different operational parameters, and different approaches to protecting American interests in environments where failure meant consequences that reached far beyond individual survival. But before departing, she conducted final briefing sessions with facility personnel who would continue implementing security improvements and operational protocols that originated from lessons learned during her assignment. The most dangerous assumptions, she explained to assembled instructors and security personnel, are the ones that feel most comfortable. When you stop questioning what you think you know about capability, threat assessment, and operational security, you create vulnerabilities that hostile forces will exploit. Commander Nash found himself wondering about the broader implications of operational personnel whose capabilities exceeded documentation, whose missions transcended conventional understanding, and whose service occurred in shadows where recognition was impossible and failure was unacceptable. "How many others are there?" he asked during their final secure communication. "People like you, operating under civilian cover, protecting interests we don't even know are at risk?" Zara's response was immediate but incomplete. "Sir, recommend focusing on mission requirements within your command authority. The broader operational picture is classified beyond need-to-know parameters." The diplomatic deflection confirmed Nash's suspicion that Ghost 7 represented part of an operational network that extended far beyond individual assignments. Somewhere in the shadows, other personnel conducted missions that protected American interests through capabilities and sacrifices that would never receive public recognition. As Zara prepared for departure, Mollie's behavior indicated anticipation of movement that spoke of experience with operational transitions. The German Shepherd's tactical awareness never relaxed, her attention continuing to monitor facility security with professional thoroughness that reminded everyone of capabilities that transcended conventional canine training. Their partnership represented something beyond standard military working dog teams. It was synthesis of human intelligence and canine senses that created operational capability greater than the sum of individual components. Together, they could detect threats that human awareness missed, while engaging hostile forces with precision that exceeded conventional military units. Cade Brennan's final conversation with Zara occurred in secure conference room that had hosted his introduction to operational realities beyond anything conventional military training had prepared him to understand. "I wanted to thank you," he said, his voice carrying sincerity that came from genuine understanding of what her intervention had meant. "Not just for saving my life, but for showing me what service really looks like." Zara's response reflected the professional distance that protected operational security while acknowledging personal connection that developed through shared experience under extreme pressure. "Your performance under stress suggests potential for capabilities that could serve American interests in ways you haven't imagined. Whether you develop that potential depends on choices only you can make." The conversation continued for 30 minutes, covering topics that range from special operations selection processes to moral considerations that guided decision-making when conventional rules didn't apply. But the underlying message was clear. Cade possessed potential that could translate to exceptional service if he developed the commitment and capabilities necessary for operations that existed outside normal military doctrine. As their conversation concluded, secure communication devices indicated incoming priority traffic that required immediate attention. Zara's expression shifted to operational focus that indicated her next mission was beginning before the current one officially ended. "Ghost 7, this is DevGru Command. Priority 1 tasking requires immediate deployment to a classified location. Transportation arranged. Mission briefing en route." The encrypted communication continued with tactical details that excluded everyone without appropriate clearance, but the urgency was unmistakable. Whatever threat had emerged required capabilities that only Ghost 7 could provide, in circumstances that demanded immediate response without conventional preparation time. Nash found himself wondering about mission requirements that operated outside normal military command structures, responding to threats that conventional forces couldn't address through methods that would never appear in official reports. "Ma'am," he said, as Zara prepared to depart, "I hope your next assignment provides the support and resources your capabilities deserve." Her slight smile suggested appreciation for the sentiment, while indicating that support and resources were less important than mission completion and American lives protected through operational success that would remain forever classified. 30 minutes later, an unmarked helicopter departed from the training facility's secure landing zone, carrying passengers whose destination was classified and whose mission would never appear in any official record. But their departure left behind changed facilities, changed personnel, and changed understanding of threats and capabilities that existed at the intersection of conventional military service and operational reality that few people ever encountered. The training facility returned to normal operations within 2 weeks, but the changes implemented during the Ghost 7 incident created permanent improvements in security, evaluation protocols, and recognition systems that influenced military training doctrine for years to come. Cade Brennan received an assignment to Special Operations Selection Course 6 months later, his performance during the crisis having demonstrated psychological resilience and tactical adaptability that selection cadre recognized as potential for exceptional service. Whether he possessed the physical and mental capabilities necessary for completion remained to be determined through evaluation processes that eliminated most candidates. Jackson Torres completed federal prosecution with a sentence that included 3 years imprisonment and lifetime restrictions on social media activities that could compromise national security. His pursuit of viral fame had created consequences that would influence his life permanently, but his cooperation with counterintelligence operations provided valuable insight into foreign intelligence monitoring of American social media platforms. Savannah Cross graduated from advanced EOD training with security clearance that opened assignment opportunities to specialized units conducting classified missions in denied areas where explosive ordnance disposal capabilities could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Staff Sergeant Riley received promotion and assignment to instructor positions within training programs that prepared special operations personnel for deployment to classified locations where conventional military doctrine didn't apply, and mission success required judgment that transcended normal evaluation criteria. But perhaps the most significant impact occurred in policy changes that influenced recognition, evaluation, and security protocols across multiple agencies and military branches. The Ghost 7 incident demonstrated that exceptional capability often existed outside conventional identification systems, that threats could emerge from unexpected directions, and that security required comprehensive approaches that address both technical vulnerabilities and human factors that created operational blind spots. Congressional oversight committees continued receiving quarterly briefings about foreign intelligence threats to American military installations, leading to sustained budget authorizations for security improvements that strengthened counterintelligence capabilities and enhanced protection of classified operations. Department of Defense doctrine incorporated lessons learned about operational security, threat assessment, and personnel protection that originated from incident analysis and influenced military training programs worldwide. Recognition protocols were updated to identify exceptional capability regardless of conventional presentation, while evaluation systems were enhanced to detect potential that standard metrics might overlook. The transformation reached into civilian sectors that recognize similar vulnerabilities in assumption-based judgment and capability assessment. Corporate leadership programs began incorporating training about unconscious bias and hidden expertise, while educational institutions updated evaluation methods to identify student potential that conventional testing might miss. Research institutions studying organizational behavior and human resources management analyzed the incident as case study in recognition failure and recovery, developing frameworks for identifying exceptional capability that operated outside normal evaluation parameters. Law enforcement agencies incorporated lessons about threat assessment and operational security into training programs that prepared personnel for encounters with individuals whose capabilities exceeded conventional criminal activity. Intelligence community protocols were updated to address foreign intelligence targeting of American personnel through professional assassination services. But beyond policy changes and institutional improvements, the incident influenced personal understanding of service, sacrifice, and capability that reached far beyond those directly involved in the crisis response. Military personnel worldwide heard classified briefings about operational security that emphasized protection of special operations capabilities, while recognizing exceptional service that occurred outside conventional recognition systems. The message was clear. American interests were protected by personnel whose service transcended official acknowledgement, whose capabilities exceeded documentation, and whose sacrifices occurred in shadows where public recognition was impossible. Educational institutions incorporated case study analysis that emphasized critical thinking about assumptions, biases, and recognition systems that could overlook exceptional capability or create vulnerabilities that hostile forces might exploit. Corporate microtraining programs addressed leadership challenges that arose when conventional evaluation systems failed to identify hidden expertise or exceptional potential within organizational structures that relied on standard metrics and traditional indicators of capability. The incident became a teaching moment about judgment, recognition, and assumptions that influenced understanding of human potential and organizational effectiveness across multiple sectors of American society. But for those directly involved in the crisis response, the experience created lasting awareness of operational realities that existed beyond conventional understanding, where service occurred without recognition, where capabilities exceeded documentation, and where mission success required sacrifice that would never receive public acknowledgement. Commander Nash continued facility operations with enhanced security protocols and improved evaluation systems, but his understanding of military service had been permanently expanded by exposure to capabilities and missions that existed outside normal command structures. His quarterly reports to Pentagon leadership included recommendations about special operations support, security enhancement, and recognition systems that originated from lessons learned during the Ghost 7 incident. But the specific details of what he'd witnessed remained classified beyond normal distribution, shared only with personnel whose need to know encompassed operational realities that transcended conventional military service. Staff evaluations at the facility began incorporating assessment criteria that addressed hidden potential, unconventional capability, and recognition of excellence that might not conform to standard military presentation. Training programs emphasized critical thinking about assumptions and biases that could create operational vulnerabilities or overlook exceptional service potential. 6 months after the incident, secure communication systems delivered messages that provided partial closure to questions that had remained unanswered since Zara's departure. Ghost 7 operational update, the encrypted transmission reported. Mission completion was successful. hostile intelligence network neutralized, American assets protected, classification level Alpha. No further communication authorized. The brief report confirmed that whatever threat had required Ghost 7's immediate deployment had been resolved through operational success that protected American interests through methods that would never appear in public record. But the sparse details only emphasized the reality of service that occurred beyond conventional recognition, acknowledgement, or understanding. Nash found himself wondering about other operational personnel who served in similar capacity, protecting interests that the civilian population would never know were at risk, through capabilities that exceeded documentation and sacrifice that would never receive appropriate recognition. The secure communication system remained silent about operational details that could compromise ongoing missions or expose personnel whose effectiveness depended on anonymity and cover protection. But the knowledge that such operations continued provided reassurance that American interests were protected by capabilities that transcended conventional military service. Regular facility operations continued with improved security, enhanced evaluation protocols, and changed understanding of capability assessment that originated from lessons learned during the Ghost 7 incident. But the experience had created permanent awareness of operational realities that existed beyond normal military doctrine. Training programs incorporated emphasis on recognition of exceptional capability, critical thinking about assumptions and biases, and security awareness that addressed threats beyond conventional military considerations. Evaluation systems were updated to identify potential that standard metrics might overlook, while security protocols were enhanced to protect against foreign intelligence penetration and professional assassination threats. But perhaps most importantly, personnel throughout the facility had gained understanding of service that transcended conventional recognition, capabilities that exceeded documentation, and sacrifice that occurred in shadows where public acknowledgement was impossible, but mission success was absolutely essential. The lesson resonated beyond military applications into civilian understanding of service, dedication, and capability that existed throughout American society. Teachers, first responders, healthcare workers, and countless others served with distinction that rarely received appropriate recognition, their contributions protecting and improving lives through dedication that exceeded conventional expectations. The Ghost 7 incident reminded everyone involved that exceptional capability often existed outside normal recognition systems, that assumptions about potential could overlook extraordinary service, and that American interests were protected by individuals whose contributions transcended official acknowledgement or public appreciation. As normal operations resumed at the training facility, personnel carried forward understanding that would influence their approach to evaluation, recognition, and service for the remainder of their careers. The incident had demonstrated that excellence could emerge from unexpected sources, that capability could exceed appearance-based assumptions, and that service occurred at levels that transcended conventional understanding. 12 months after the incident, Cade Brennan completed Special Operations Selection with performance that impressed instructors accustomed to evaluating exceptional candidates. His experience during the Ghost 7 crisis had provided foundation for psychological resilience and tactical awareness that translated effectively to advanced military capabilities. His assignment to classified operations provided opportunities to serve American interests through missions that would never receive public recognition, in circumstances where failure could have consequences, reaching far beyond individual survival. But his training had prepared him for service that transcended conventional military doctrine, guided by moral commitment and tactical capability that enabled mission success under impossible conditions. Jackson Torres completed federal imprisonment with understanding of responsibility and consequence that had been absent from his social media pursuit of viral fame. His cooperation with counterintelligence operations had provided valuable insight into foreign intelligence monitoring of American social media platforms, contributing to security improvements that protected classified operations from exposure through civilian documentation. His restricted access to social media platforms prevented future security violations, but his experience served as warning to others about legal and moral consequences of broadcasting military operations without understanding classification requirements or security implications. Savannah Cross served with distinction in advanced EOD operations that protected American personnel from explosive threats in denied areas where conventional military support was unavailable. Her capabilities contributed to mission success that saved lives and protected strategic interests through service that occurred beyond public recognition or conventional acknowledgement. Staff Sergeant Riley's instructor assignments prepared special operations personnel for deployment to classified locations where mission success required judgment that transcended normal evaluation criteria. His ability to recognize exceptional capability, regardless of conventional presentation, influenced training programs that prepared personnel for operations beyond standard military doctrine. But the broader impact of the Ghost 7 incident continued influencing policy, training, and understanding of service that reached far beyond those directly involved in the crisis response. Congressional oversight maintained focus on foreign intelligence threats to American military installations, sustaining budget authorization for security improvements that protected classified operations and enhanced counterintelligence capabilities. The sustained attention ensured that lessons learned from the incident continued influencing security policy at strategic levels. Department of Defense doctrine incorporated operational security protocols that addressed personnel protection, threat assessment, and recognition systems based on analysis of vulnerabilities that the incident had exposed. Training programs worldwide implemented enhanced security measures that protected both classified operations and conventional military activities. Intelligence community protocols addressed foreign intelligence targeting through professional assassination services, implementing protective measures that reduced vulnerability of American personnel to hostile elimination attempts. Counterintelligence capabilities were enhanced to detect and neutralize foreign intelligence penetration of American military installations. Educational institutions continued incorporating case study analysis that emphasized critical thinking about assumptions, recognition of hidden potential, and evaluation systems that could overlook exceptional capability. The lessons influenced approaches to talent identification, leadership development, and organizational effectiveness across academic disciplines. Corporate training programs addressed leadership challenges that originated from recognition failure and assumption-based evaluation, developing frameworks for identifying exceptional capability that operated outside conventional metrics. Human resources methodologies were updated to detect potential that standard evaluation systems might miss. The sustained impact demonstrated that a single operational incident could influence understanding and policy at multiple levels, creating improvements that enhanced capability, security, and recognition systems across military and civilian sectors. But for those who had directly witnessed Ghost 7's capabilities and service, the experience provided lasting awareness of operational realities that existed beyond conventional understanding, where exceptional individuals protected American interests through sacrifice that would never receive appropriate recognition. The knowledge that such service continued provided reassurance that threats beyond conventional military consideration were being addressed by capabilities that exceeded documentation, through missions that would never appear in public record, by personnel whose dedication transcended normal expectations of military service. As years passed, the training facility maintained enhanced security and improved evaluation protocols that originated from lessons learned during the Ghost 7 incident. But the deeper impact was understanding among personnel that service occurred at levels beyond conventional recognition, that capability could exceed assumption-based assessment, and that American interests were protected by individuals whose contributions transcended official acknowledgement. The incident had demonstrated that assumptions about potential, capability, and service could create dangerous blind spots in evaluation and recognition systems. But it had also shown that exceptional capability could emerge from unexpected sources, that dedication to service could transcend personal consideration, and that mission success could be achieved through sacrifice that operated beyond conventional understanding. The legacy of Ghost 7 continued influencing military training, security protocols, and recognition systems long after her departure from the facility, but her most important contribution was demonstrating that American interests were protected by personnel whose service transcended conventional acknowledgement, whose capabilities exceeded documentation, and whose dedication to mission success operated beyond normal expectations of military duty. The lesson resonated throughout military and civilian sectors, reminding everyone that exceptional service often occurred without recognition, that capability could exceed appearance-based assumptions, and that the security and freedom enjoyed by American citizens was protected by individuals whose contributions would never receive appropriate public appreciation. That understanding honored not only Ghost 7's service, but the countless others who served in similar capacity, protecting interests that would never be publicly acknowledged through capabilities that exceeded conventional documentation, with dedication that transcended normal expectations of service to country and fellow citizens. The Ghost 7 incident had ended, but its impact on understanding, policy, and recognition of exceptional service continued influencing American military and civilian society for generations to come. The lesson was clear. Heroes walked among us every day, hidden in plain sight, ready to serve when called upon, asking for nothing more than the opportunity to complete their mission and protect those who could never know the full extent of their sacrifice. 2 years after the incident, as Cade Brennan prepared for his first classified deployment, with capabilities that had been developed through selection training that eliminated 90% of candidates, he received a secure message that connected his service to the incident that had changed his understanding of military duty. Mission Briefing Classified Alpha, the communication stated. Assignment designation, Operation Silent Thunder. Handler support required. Report to classified location for tactical coordination with Ghost 7 operational team. The message indicated that his path had come full circle, from target of assassination attempt to participant in operations that addressed threats beyond conventional military consideration. His selection training had prepared him for service that transcended normal military doctrine, but his understanding of dedication and sacrifice had originated from witnessing Ghost 7's capabilities during the crisis that had nearly cost his life. The encrypted communication continued with coordinates and timing that would take him to reunion with personnel whose service had protected his life and influenced his understanding of military duty. But the operational details remained classified beyond his current access level, requiring briefing through secure channels after arrival at designated location. As he prepared for deployment, Cade understood that his service was beginning to operate at levels where mission success required capabilities that exceeded conventional training, dedication that transcended personal consideration, and sacrifice that would never receive public recognition. But his training had prepared him for such service, guided by an understanding of duty that originated from witnessing exceptional capability and moral commitment during a crisis that had demonstrated what service really meant when conventional approaches were insufficient, and mission success required sacrifice that operated beyond normal expectations. The secure communication concluded with verification codes that confirmed operational legitimacy while maintaining security protocols that protected classified operations from exposure or compromise. His response would initiate a deployment sequence that would take him to an operational environment where service occurred beyond conventional understanding, and mission success protected American interests through methods that would never appear in official record. As he transmitted confirmation of receipt and readiness for deployment, Cade realized that his understanding of military service had been permanently changed by the exposure to capabilities and dedication that transcended conventional documentation. His selection training had prepared him for operations that addressed threats beyond normal military consideration, but his moral foundation had been established through witnessing Ghost 7's service during a crisis that had nearly cost his life. The deployment would test capabilities that had been developed through training that eliminated most candidates, but his understanding of service had been shaped by witnessing exceptional dedication and sacrifice that operated beyond conventional recognition. The combination would prepare him for missions that protected American interests through service that transcended normal expectations of military duty. Operation Silent Thunder awaited, with challenges that would test everything he had learned about capability, dedication, and service that operated beyond conventional understanding. But his foundation had been established through witnessing what exceptional service looked like when mission success required sacrifice that transcended personal consideration and recognition that would never be publicly acknowledged. The Ghost 7 incident had ended, but its impact continued through personnel whose service had been influenced by an understanding of dedication and capability that exceeded conventional documentation. The lesson lived on in those who served at levels beyond normal recognition, protecting interests through sacrifice that would never receive appropriate acknowledgement, with understanding that service meant more than personal achievement or conventional recognition. As Cade departed for classified deployment that would test capabilities and dedication that had been developed through selection training and influenced by witnessing exceptional service, the training facility continued operations with enhanced security and improved evaluation protocols that originated from lessons learned during incidents that had changed everyone's understanding of military service and personal capability. The legacy of Ghost 7 lived on in policy changes, security improvements, and recognition systems that honored exceptional service while protecting operational security that enabled continued mission success. But most importantly, it lived on in understanding among those who had witnessed authentic dedication and capability, carrying forward knowledge that influenced their approach to service, evaluation, and recognition of exceptional potential that might exist beyond conventional assessment. The incident was officially concluded, but its impact continued through improved understanding of service, sacrifice, and capability that transcended conventional recognition. The lesson would influence military training and civilian understanding for generations to come, honoring those who served beyond acknowledgement while inspiring others to achieve potential that exceeded conventional expectations. Ghost 7's mission continued in shadows, where recognition was impossible, but service was absolutely essential, protecting American interests through capabilities that exceeded documentation and sacrifice that operated beyond conventional understanding. Her legacy lived on in those whose understanding of service had been permanently changed by witnessing exceptional dedication and moral commitment during a crisis that had demonstrated what military duty really meant when conventional approaches were insufficient. The training facility returned to normal operations, but normal had been redefined by understanding of capability, service, and dedication that transcended conventional recognition. The enhancement was permanent, influencing evaluation, security, and appreciation of exceptional potential that might exist within any individual whose surface presentation failed to reveal extraordinary capability for service that protected interests beyond personal consideration. That understanding honored not only Ghost 7's service, but the countless others who served in similar capacity throughout American military and civilian society, protecting interests through dedication that exceeded conventional expectations with capabilities that transcended documentation, and sacrifice that would never receive appropriate public recognition but remained absolutely essential for security and freedom that defined American society. The Ghost 7 incident had demonstrated that heroes existed everywhere, hidden in plain sight, ready to serve when circumstances demanded exceptional capability and moral commitment that operated beyond conventional understanding. The lesson lived on in those who continued such service, protecting interests that would never be publicly acknowledged, through sacrifice that transcended normal expectations, with dedication that honored the highest traditions of service to country and fellow citizens. As the sun set over the training facility where Ghost 7 had been exposed and her legacy established, the enhanced security systems, improved evaluation protocols, and changed understanding of service continued protecting and developing personnel whose capabilities might one day be called upon to serve at levels beyond conventional recognition, guided by moral commitment and tactical capability that enabled mission success when conventional approaches were insufficient, and American interests required protection through sacrifice that operated beyond normal expectations of military duty and personal dedication. The legend of Ghost 7 would continue in classified briefings and whispered stories among those whose service operated at levels beyond conventional understanding. But her most important legacy was the demonstration that exceptional capability existed everywhere, waiting to be recognized and developed, guided by moral commitment and dedication to service that transcended personal consideration and conventional recognition. That understanding would influence American military and civilian society for generations to come, honoring those who served beyond acknowledgement while inspiring others to develop potential that exceeded conventional expectations, protecting interests through sacrifice that would never receive appropriate recognition but remained absolutely essential for security and freedom that defined the nation they served, with distinction that operated beyond normal understanding but achieved results that protected everything they valued most.